Yes, yes, yes. Yes, yes, yes. Yes, yes, yes. Yes, yes, yes. I am here. I am with you. I am so happy to give you this fairy tale, this story that starts out with a blessing. I want you all to feel my love, my compassion, and my understanding for how challenging your lives can be. I and the other fairies want to extend to you our sincerest blessings. We feel very honored to be able to connect with you. This story is about Laura. Laura was born into a very average middle class family. She had a brother and a sister. Her brother's name was Tom, and her sister's name was Sheila. Laura knew from a young age that she wanted to do something big. She knew that she had a special purpose, a mission for being on earth. Every night, when she lay down to go to sleep, she would ask for her mission to be revealed to her in her dreams. But in her dreams, she would dream about her parents, her brother, her sister, her friends. She never got a mission delivered to her, not in any dream. When Laura reached the age of 5, she went off to kindergarten. The classroom seemed big to her. There were lots of other kids there. Some of them were crying. They didn't want to be at school. They didn't want to be apart from their families. Laura noticed this immediately, and she would go over and comfort and soothe all the children who were crying. She would give them hugs. She would tell them that she would be their friend. She would eat lunch with them and snacks. And she was always looking out for these other children to make sure they were okay. Kindergarten went by so fast, and before she knew it, Laura was graduating from kindergarten and moving into first grade. In first grade, things started to get harder for the students. There was a lot more being asked of them. A lot more they had to memorize and recite. Laura would always look for the other students who were struggling, and she would offer to help them. She would coach them, tutor them. She would help them to release their anxieties about learning. Meanwhile, Laura continued to ask the universe about her mission, about her purpose. And she waited to receive a message in some way, shape, or form. She was very patient. And before she knew it, she had graduated from the first grade and had moved to the second. In second grade, some of the other students would get into a kind of puppy love romantic relationship. They would proclaim that they liked each other, send notes with hearts on them, kiss each other, hold hands. And Laura observed that at times one of the students would have an unrequited love situation, and he or she would be devastated that the other child did not share in the love that they felt. Laura would always seek these children out and comfort them. She would encourage them to feel their feelings. She would put her arm around them as they cried. She comforted and soothed every child she ever saw who was heartbroken by one of these early romantic experiences. Laura was a good student. She was getting good grades. She was making friends. But she couldn't really get excited about what she was learning. Fractions and spelling, history, none of it seemed all that important. And before she knew it, she was graduating to the 3rd grade. And now, by the time she was in the 3rd grade, the boys in her class would get very competitive at recess. She would notice that they were always trying to be the biggest and strongest. And there was a lot of fighting. Sometimes it would start out as play and then get out of control. And one of the boys would hit another boy, push the other boy down. And Laura would always go to the aid of the boy who felt defeated and build him back up with her words. She would find something about him that he had done well, or she would compliment him on his muscles, his strength, his willingness to get up off the ground and keep playing even after he had fallen or lost whatever game the boys were playing. And then she would send the boy off to go play some more and would tell him that she saw how good he was and wanted him to know that even when he lost, he was still good. And then she would return to playing hopscotch or double dutch, whatever was the playful game that she was engaged in with her friends. Before she knew it, Laura was graduating from the 3rd grade. and growing, getting taller, getting more mature, and still seeking a mission in life, a purpose. In the 4th grade, Laura was asked to write a story. It was the first time she was ever given a creative writing assignment. And she wrote about how every child that she had ever encountered had a gift, had a purpose for being, and that the universe would always reveal to that child what their gifts were, what their purpose was for being on earth. She knew that by writing about this, she could make it happen for herself. She could receive her mission, and it would be revealed to her. And she was happy with what she had written. The teacher was also very happy with what Laura had written, and she asked her about it. The teacher asked Laura, "What is your mission? Why were you born into this physical body of yours?" And Laura looked up at the teacher and said, "It has yet to be revealed. But I am going to keep my expectations high that it will be. Because I have faith. And because I know that everyone has a purpose." The teacher smiled and agreed, and told Laura she was certain that Laura would know what her purpose was soon enough. Before she knew it, Laura had graduated from the 4th grade. And each year that she was in school, she continued to find ways to express herself. She really enjoyed helping others, being who she was, looking for opportunities to love, and before she knew it, Laura was graduating from high school. And like most young adults at that age, she decided to go to a university. She decided that she would major in writing. She wanted to be a storyteller. And so she was sent off to university, and she was immediately excited about all of her classes and all of the new people that she met. She noticed that a lot of the other young adults, the other students at the university with her, would be interested in drinking and doing drugs recreationally. But Laura was not interested in those things. She was interested in making connections with people. She was interested in her writing. And she was also interested in the young men that she would meet. And she would feel love in her heart for certain ones. Every Friday and Saturday, Laura's roommate would go out to some party or some nightclub or bar with her fake ID. And she would come back to the dormitory drunk or high or both. And sometimes she would throw up. And Laura would hold her hair as she threw up. She would get her to drink water. She would make sure her roommate was sleeping in a way that was safe for her to sleep, just in case she was going to throw up again. Laura would put a trash can right at the side of her roommate's bed. She was always helping her roommate, in fact. When her roommate would have trouble in her relationship with her boyfriend, Laura would listen with compassion. When her roommate had trouble with her studies, Laura would help. When she didn't have enough money for food, Laura would always give her some of hers. They became very close friends. Laura's roommate's name was Tina. And Tina was so in awe of Laura. She looked up to her. They became the best of friends. Laura did well in her classes. She was always happy to create new stories and share them with people. Her stories were uplifting. They were funny. They were always heartwarming. They were well written, well crafted. And the years of her time at the university went by so fast. She and Tina remained roommates for all 4 years. Laura would have boyfriends from time to time, but nothing that became too serious or too long-term. When they graduated, Laura and Tina decided to get an apartment together near where they had gone to university. And they both got jobs. And Tina was engaged to the boyfriend that she had during her years at university. That was her main focus. Laura was still searching for a purpose. Laura's job was not fulfilling. It didn't have anything to do with her writing. She would submit her stories and manuscripts to magazines and publishers of books. And occasionally one of her stories would make its way to a magazine and they would publish it. And she would feel good about that. But she didn't feel that she was reaching very many people. So she didn't see what she was doing as a purpose. Her belief had always been that a person's purpose had to impact the many. That if her stories were only read by several hundred or perhaps a few thousand people, then it couldn't possibly be her purpose. Laura was, of course, asked by Tina to be her maid of honor. And before they both knew it, the wedding was upon them. Tina was so stressed out about all that she had to do, about making it the perfect day, having the perfect dress, everyone in her family being happy with the ceremony. And Laura was always there, encouraging her, telling her that she needn't worry about all of those things and to focus on the love that she had in her heart for her fiancé. And she was always successful at settling Tina down, reminding her of what was truly important. On the day of the wedding, Laura was so supportive. She practically nudged Tina down the aisle. And it was a beautiful day. Laura met someone at the wedding. She met a man who was handsome and who was making eyes at her throughout the ceremony. They danced together. They talked. They laughed. And by the end of the wedding reception, it was obvious that they had a meaningful connection. The man's name was George. George and Laura began dating. Tina had, of course, moved out of the apartment and moved into a home with her new husband. And so the relationship with George came at the perfect timing. Things moved very quickly for them. They dated for several months, getting closer and closer. George could see what a beautiful soul Laura was. He saw her in a way that no one she had ever dated before had seen her. Laura wasn't classically beautiful on the exterior, but who she was, the light that shone from within her, was undeniable. And George, having dated a lot of different young women, had come to realize that what Laura had inside of her was what he wanted. Before she knew it, George was down on one knee asking Laura to marry him, and they were engaged. And the time in between the asking and the wedding went by so fast. But Laura never doubted her decision to marry this man. And of course, Tina was her maid of honor. And her sister and brother, mother and father were so happy for Laura. And after the ceremony was over, George asked Laura, "Do you think that perhaps it's your purpose to have children and be a mother and love those children in the way that no one else could?" And Laura looked at George and said, "I do want to have children, and I do want to love them. But my purpose must be something bigger than that. Everyone can have children, and most parents love their children." And George said to her, "Yes, but no one loves exactly the way that you do." And Laura looked at her new husband in his big brown eyes, and she knew that she had married the right man. She knew that the love they had was rare and beautiful. And they did have children. They had a boy and a girl. And Laura loved them completely. She encouraged them. She comforted them. She always told them how special they were. She was such an amazing mother and such an amazing partner to her husband, George. And the years went by so quickly. Before she knew it, her children were graduating from high school and then from university. And then they were getting married and having grandchildren. And all the while, all those years, Laura continued to write her stories, to be a friend, a neighbor, a sister, a mother, a wife. She was always kind, always looking out for everyone else. Laura was in her mid-40s when she started to feel sick. Something wasn't right. And she knew it. And she went to a doctor and underwent a lot of different tests. And then she was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. And the word got out quickly that she was sick. She told George that she did not want to get chemotherapy or radiation. And he cried and cried. And so did her children and grandchildren. She said she wanted to be at home in her bed, and she wanted to take care of herself in her own way. They all reluctantly agreed. And the word spread quickly of Laura's cancer. She and George had started their family in the same town where Laura grew up. And as the word got out, all the people that Laura had ever helped throughout elementary school, throughout junior high school and high school, they all came. They all visited her in her home, one by one, and they told her what she had meant to them, how she had uplifted them in a time when they needed it the most. They would bring food. They would offer to do chores around the house. They would make sure that Laura was comfortable. And one after another, each of these individuals would tell Laura how she had touched their hearts, how they were the people that they were today, in part because of her. And Laura could feel a warm glow emanating from the center of her heart. All of these people whose lives she had touched had come to pay their respects. They had come to say goodbye to this woman who was very young to be passing on. But instead, all the love, all the compassion, everything that Laura had ever put out into the world had come back to her through these individuals. And when Tina came to visit and told Laura that in their freshman year of university, she was suicidal at times, and that if it wasn't for Laura, she wouldn't be here. And that was the final message that she needed to hear to fill her heart with so much love and with such high vibrations. Little by little, each of these individuals who had come to visit her had helped her cure herself of the cancer. Laura got up out of bed and embraced Tina and told her that she knew now what her purpose was. And Tina said, "What's that?" And Laura said to her, "My purpose is to live. That is my mission. I'm going to stay." So she went to the doctor and she told the doctor, "I am ready to receive whatever treatments you think might work. Whatever will keep me here." And the doctor examined her. And he brought in another doctor to examine her. And they tested her blood. And they looked inside of her with the machines they had to do that sort of thing. And they could not find a trace of the cancer. Laura went on to live a very, very long life, writing, loving, playing with her grandchildren. And when she did finally pass at a ripe old age, she knew she had lived the purpose. that she came to earth to love and to be who she was. And she knew finally that that was enough. That is the end of the story. I am Ophelia, and I love you.
Hi everyone, this is Daniel Scranton. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, like and share this video, and give a visit to danielscranton.com when you get a chance.